it's a great homecoming. The home has grown bigger too. When I was with Cadence, we didn't have these fancy buildings. And also, I want to echo what Jonathan has said about this organization. I really feel tremendous amount of respect to people who devote their time and energy to volunteer in an organization like this. It really gives the Chinese American semiconductor professionals yet a wonderful forum to come together, to communicate, to share perspectives, and also to establish new connections. So thank you all for getting us all here. All right, so I'm Wang. I'm from Intel Corporation. I'm the general manager of the Hard IP organization. And some of you may have the question, what is Intel doing here about SoC and Hard IP? Aren't you a CPU company? Yes, we are, but I will get into it a little bit about our plan and our future and how we look at this market. Now, I'm going to talk about embedded IP design. And why do I want to talk about it other than it is my job at Intel to develop hard IPs? I really believe the embedded IP has become a very strategic part of the SoC product. And also, if done right, it can add differentiation values to the leading edge product. Over the past years, both the design and manufacturing complexity of designing these hard IPs has increased really dramatically to the point that it can become a limiting factor of the time to market of your SoC product. It could be an enabler or it could be a limiting factor depending on how you approach these designs. So it is a challenge. At the same time, I will always look at any challenge as new opportunities. Right? So I like to talk a little bit about these opportunities and these challenges and share some perspectives. And in half an hour, 25 minutes, we really can't do a lot of deep dive, but I will just scratch the surface. Hopefully, we can provoke some good thinking and share some of the knowledge here. So I'll start from a higher level, a market overview. This is a much constrained market overview compared to what Jonathan has looked at the whole semiconductor industry. This is really look at the IP development. Okay, there are two things. The red button is the pointer. Anyway, so we can right. So if you look at who designed these kind of IPs, SoC company by and large still design the information. We also have IP vendor, Cadence, the Synopsys, what's the company's name? See, there's another IP supplier, and licensed IP. If you look at the market, the good news is it is growing, and the not so good news is not exponentially growing, right? And if you look at time to market of these designs, they are very, very condensed. Anywhere between, if you look at a design revision on the same design process to a brand new design on a brand new process, it goes anywhere between 15 months to probably around 24 months. And this includes from design starts to the first tape out, which is the red orange bar at the bottom, and then from your tape-in to working silicon, which is the yellow in the middle, and then from your first silicon to volume ramping, right? And all of these combined together, it's within a little over a year to 2-year time. So very, very short design cycle. And so in order for us to compete in this market, it is becoming increasingly important for us to get the right product, design it in the right time. Right? Now, what does Intel got to do with this? Again, going back, the CPU company trying to go into SoC. We truly believe if we do the IP design correctly and do it in the right way, we would be able to extend the market to the adjacent segments and really increase the overall impact of Intel to the industry. So what we're looking at is on the left-hand side, really, this is my business. We design IP blocks and what we call chiplets, right? And you go from schematic RTLs You go through the design, the synthesis, the actual layout, and have the hard IP. At the same time, we also provide verifications, the methodology, the automation, the testing, the documentation, and the DFX infrastructure, so that we have all these chiplets. And the chiplets gets instantiated or used in the chips, which is the system that we build, different systems. And those in turn becomes the solution in the different market segments, right? All the way from automobile, the smartphones, to the consumer electronics, the smart TVs that recently starts to show up, embedded design, netbook, tablets, chipsets, all the way to Intel's traditional business in chipset business, server and storage. And it expands multiple process design generations. So from 42 nanometer, 32, we're moving on to 22, and moving forward. So we believe if we do this right, we can significantly change the ecosystem and increase or reduce the time to market of our overall designs. That's why we're here. And what are some of the challenges then if we want to do this? There are many. And since we don't have enough time, I would just touch on 3 different things. One, I believe it's very important to find the balanced IP attributes. And there are multiple number of attributes you need to consider and think about when you design your product. And then the second one is, if you do this right, if you invest in the infrastructure, you can do it once and make it reusable, and it becomes multi-usable IP. So you design it once, you can instantiate it in many designs. That way you can get a bigger return over time and over many products. And the third one, the last one, of course, it's very important you provide differentiation value. And I will go into a little bit of each one of these. Attributes. And you design an IP, whether you are an IP supplier or whether you are like us, an internal tool, you really have to look at all the different things that you need to put into the IP. It needs to be functional, of course, right? It has to be interoperable when you put it on the system. Configuration, configurable is a good advantage. It needs to be modular, it needs to be low power, it needs to have the highest density, it needs to have the low cost. So there's an array of parameters you need to play with to figure out what is the landing zone of that specific IP, so that it can serve both the specific purpose and extend beyond what you're designing for the reuse. And striking the balance, right balance, is really crucial for the success. Given the short time to market demand and given the marketplace that's changing so rapidly, what is that next thing that could get you that business and get you move forward? In a way, the market is not very forgiving because it's very competitive, right? And if you don't balance this attribute, you don't have a good landing zone for your product, right? It could mean between the success and failure. And for example, let's just highlight that with the memory I/O example. I think later there are more talks about memories for I/Os too, right? So if you look at the market segment you are trying to design these I/O to, there's automobile, there is the netbook and tablets market, and there's consumer electronics, servers, and embedded. Each of these would drive very different needs, and sometimes overlapping, but with specific emphasis on the different parameters. If you look at the smartphone automobile business, right, the power is a very important factor. Form factor, you need to make sure it's small. Nobody wants to carry a big, bulky cell phone nowadays, right? We want all the capacities and capabilities, but we want it small so that we can put it in our pocket. If you're looking at the server market, on the other hand, you need to look at performance, you need to look at capacity, and you need to look at reliability. To build an IP with different reliability requirements requires significant amount of more effort, more validation, just a different domain of design. So you really have to think about where your product is targeted to. And then the options, right? There are many, many options. If you look at the specific memory I/O, right? You can do DDR2, DDR3, DDR4. You do LPDDR if your power is important for you. You will look at the future memory technology. What is the orientation? How many channels, et cetera, right? So So that's the first challenge. Pick the landing zone, make sure you know what your IP is designed for, and really optimize for those parameters. Because one size doesn't fit all. Right. Now, then you talk about, I can't come from Intel and not talk about Moore's law, right? Moore's law is not a physical law. It's really more of a human determination to push our technology envelope generation after generation. And every time we think we hit a wall, the engineering ingenuity and our scientists comes and break that wall, and we continue to move forward. Being in Intel, the advantage that I would have as a hard IP supplier would be, within the same process generation, we have a very close connection with our technology guys, with the fab, that we can dial it out to tune your optimization from performance to power. Right? On each of these curves, you can choose where you want to land, and you can choose to move on to the next generation, all the way to the leading edge, the forefront, and that could really help the power, help the performance, help integration, help lower system BOM cost, and truly is a win-win-win situation for the people who are fortunate enough who can connect the technology, advance, and leadership to the product design leadership, right? And that, in a way, this is how Intel plan to expand our business into the SoC, leveraging our technology leadership. We clearly exploit that leadership in the CPU, in the big core CPU land, right? And in the SoC land, we are aggressively pursuing that path too. The second one, after you pick out the attributes, you know what you're designing to. Then the second one you can think about it would be design it once and get multiple use out of it. Right? And this really is something very good for the IP suppliers or for the IP designers. If you look at the right-hand side graph chart, right, it shows there are significant amount of IP reuse in the SoC products. The left-hand, the lower bar, 44% actually is in the new SoC products. And the derivative products, you'll see even more reuse, which, as I said, is good news for us, right? If you design an IP, if you have a portfolio of reusable IPs, you will enable the faster and efficient integration. And when people think about their product, they can think about what are the specific IPs that I need revolutionary change to give my SoC product the edge. And the remaining of it, I wanted to be there, I wanted to get it fast so that I can get to market. So many of the IPs get reused. And if you enable that reuse, you will help, getting up the spiral on this path. And that, in turn, will help drive multiple derivatives. Because if I reuse an IP, I reduce the time and effort and the cost of redesigning it. I can get to it faster. And there, you create the need for more reusable IP, right? And so it's really a very healthy, upward, positive spiral that if you can get into a system like this. So it is worth the effort to invest into enable multi-use IP. But what does that mean, right? Nothing comes for free. Special purpose design, you design for one thing and get done with it. If you want it to be reusable, then you really have to invest in a design for reuse framework. And that includes what we call it the chassis. Basically, it's an architectural fabric that enables the standardization of different parts getting plug and play in that chassis. It means the hard IP plus the software, the embedded software on top of it, how they plug and play. It means that, think about your platform solutions, how that can reuse the IP you're designing. It means that you need to invest in documentation so that you have the recipe book and you have the compliance checklist so that other people, when they need to use your IP, they can take it and use it. It means you need to investigate and you need to invest in standardization of the DFT technology so that you can enable automated tests and automated checks, right? So it is an investment. It is a lot of the upfront thinking and design you need to put into place. But once you do this, I said, we do believe if you can do this and if you can afford to do this, then you must do this. And so your business will benefit significantly downstream. Last but not least, you did all of that. At the end of the day, especially when you design a new IP, you really need to think about what is the differentiation value I am providing. Right? And so you have to, with all the attributes, you have to think about to enable this product, what is good enough, because if you choose to do everything, you probably won't be able to accomplish what you need to do in the time that's required for you to go to market, right? So you have to say, everything I do has to be good enough to stay competitive. But then you truly have to think about what is that specific differentiation breaks me from the pack and demonstrate that leadership. And another way to look at it is why do we need to invest in the differentiation? Is if you look at this chart, it's kind of depressing in a way, right? This is the licensing and royalty forecast for the IPs. And it's decreasing. It's not decreasing slowly. There's a very drastic decreasing trend moving forward, right? And moving forward, really, the IPs are truly becoming ingredients. It's like salt. You have to have it in your cooking, or you're not going to pay a whole lot for your salt, right? But if you do the sea salt, have you guys went to the fancy restaurant and do this, fancy blue, pink, and beautiful salt? They put it on the table. Just look at it, I feel my food tastes better, right? So those salt, people are willing to pay more for it. And hopefully, it does translate to a better dish, right? So, and what you look at in our business will be, if you just have the plain salt, you really don't expect that you're going to be able to exchange that to a lot of royalties and cash. But if you have true differentiation capabilities, you choose to build in, and sometimes it's almost like putting a bet in the right place, the right product, the right trend, then you can harvest a lot of value. And then, but again, going back to no pain, no gain, and there is investment in any way you want to differentiate. And if you look at this kind of pyramid, to the minimum, you really need to invest in your design, development, and execution to have the necessary features that breaks your way from the vanilla salt tag into the differentiating IP domain. And if you can invest more, then at the system architecture level, it's a more sustainable leadership, and it's also less easy to be replicated by your competitors. And if you're truly lucky that you can afford to invest in process technology also, that really gives you long-lasting leadership that it is very, very hard to replicate, right? And look at the technology roadmap, look at how, the foundry business, how much investment needs to be put in there. It is a significant amount of investment. But however, the value advantage also goes up dramatically if you can invest in those things. Okay? And the punchline here is really differentiation is an imperative and requires a high investment upfront. So just to show the differentiation that does create value, right? And I have a lot of examples coming from Intel. All my examples are from Intel, but I'm sure there are other examples from the industry, right? And the latest thing, Thunderbolt. How many of you walked into an Apple store now and look at the new Mac Pro, right? There's the Thunderbolt port. What it is really, Intel really is the co-inventor of the USB and the PCI Express port that connect for your data and for your video. And then we collaborated with Apple, and we basically bolted two into one simple port that gives you 10 gigabits of bandwidth that bi-directional for your data, for your video. And you can plug it in and you get all of that. And it translated that, then Apple and Intel started the technology and it's debuted it in the market. And you go to the Apple store, you will buy the new MacBook Pro, you will have that, right? And how many of you have heard about which one I want to go with this, Intel Wi-Fi? Or, we call it Intel Insider. These are capabilities. It's actually quite cool. Before we're so used to talk about Intel inside the core CPU outside, and you can wrap it up in cardboard, you wouldn't know what's going on, right? So Intel is, because of the IPs we provided, because of the SoC strategy that we are pursuing, we begin to actually get out of the inside box and directly touch the consumer. what Intel Wide-Eye does, and combined with the Intel Insider, is you go buy the online, you buy the content, HD videos, movies from Hollywood. It has the necessary security wrapper around it, and it will, stream it to your laptop. And with one button push, with remote and wireless connection, it projects change the projection from your laptop all the way to the TV in your living room of the high-def TV. And you can seamlessly exchange between the displays, and you can look at your high-def TV right from pushing the button on your laptop to purchase that and to project it on the TV. No connection, just one button. Right? So these are some of the exciting things that we bring out to the market, and it actually comes from differentiated IP that we build. Right? So the hard IP imperative is to consistently deliver balanced, multi-use enabled, and differentiated IP to help build a continuum of computing experience. All the way, desktop, laptop, netbooks, personal devices, smartphones, smart TVs, and the embedded devices across the board. Right? And our dream or our vision is really in this decade, Intel is going to expand our computing continuum so that we truly help connect every person on Earth with the technology. And I think it's exciting. I think being part of it to enable a company who is very, very good at doing one thing, designing big core microprocessor, to a very different company, a different company that is actually an SoC company. It's exciting. I think it will have profound impact in the industry. And you have a personal invitation. If you have the skills and if you have the passion, come join us for this exciting venture. Okay?
I think we still have a few more minutes. Does anyone want to join Dr. Wang's team? Ilona or right here, the Maddie. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I want to join. I have a question. You talk about the IP mostly for Intel inside, right? Internally to use, so that you can have a lot of derivatives. My question is, Intel already released Atom to TSMC,
Yes.
right? And at the beginning, I heard from the street that Intel plan to use this as an IP so that other customer can customize it. Okay, and now with ARM, picking up steam. My question also the tablet. Okay, and a lot of people think that Atom is not powerful enough for the tablet. So my question is, do you have any plan for original plan like Atom to release your more IP so that people can use your IP just like ARM to design for consumer electronics?
So we do have a foundry organization within Intel. We are actively looking into a lot more the business through the foundry to connect with the customers and consumers. So in short, yes. But I think at the beginning we do pick and choose on how we can grow that business and build that business.
Right. And then the second question about the method, will it replace the HDMI?
It can. Of course, there's always a legacy issue when you replace something, how long you need to carry on. But with that, you basically have, your video and your content, your data, everything within one. I think we need to carry the HDMI for quite a while before we can talk about replacement. Right now, it's in one laptop device, but it has a great promise in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wang.